I want to look at this video of us talking today, like 5-10 years ago, and thinking about the day that we show this and be like, holy shit, this is when everything changed. Because now you can just design from the web.
Remember Pietro, the co-founder of MagicPath? He was the one that was talking about this future of design architects, and he's been teasing some pretty exciting new features for MagicPath. So I wanted to get a first look at libraries, but also a little bit later in the episode, he shows us something that I definitely did not see coming. So without further ado, let's dive in.
As you remember last time we chat, right? One of the main issues that a lot of companies and designers have is that when they work with AI, when they build a prototype or they vibe code it their way through, their design actually doesn't match what is in production or doesn't match their brand, doesn't match, the specification. And so our sort of like first approach solution to this is libraries. And the way you can think about libraries is that, and this is to me, it's like the designer holy grail. Like if I had this 10 years ago, I would have been so happy, like at Facebook or Brex, all those companies I work on. But the way you can think about a library is basically just like living and breathing component library where you have all your components, right? But for the very first time, those components are actually interactive. It's not just like the static file that you would get from like a classic design tool, but things are actually interactable and you can use it, right? And so imagine if you're like a PM or a designer or an engineer, every company I worked at, there was always some sort of like personalized way that some engineer built when the company started, and now nobody knows what to do with it and nobody knows to maintain, which would be like basically like a React page, right? Of all the components that are part of the product. So then, designers and whatnot, they would actually know, how things interact, what are the animation, like what are the different like specification of all the different components. But the problem in the past was that every time that document will be decoupled from the actual design source or truth, and even more so as the product evolves, will be decoupled from what's actually in implementation, right?
Yeah.
So you end up with this like library that was never really up to date. But now finally you have this document that is in the design tool that you can use to design new things. So when you start in a new file, so I'm going to go like a new file here. And so the way we do it is super easy. So once you turn the library like available for you across your team or yourself, you basically have it here. And so very easily you can just like literally just like drag and drop this component, right? So I'm going to drag and drop this post here. Right. And he has like the carousel. Like, how cool is that? Like,
it still feels fresh seeing the interactivity on the canvas. Right? Like that still feels new and exciting to me.
It's so cool. Right. And then let's see, I'm going to drag and drop like a tab bar here. Right. And so now, this whole thing gets crazy. So let's say I want to prototype a feed now. Right. Well, let's do that. So I can say, hey, make a feed using, post and this. So now what we're doing, we're basically working with AI in our brand, in our component style, right? And so one of the things that we're going to do right now, it's like, we're going to launch like a Figma integration so that you can actually go from your Figma component to what's actually in MagicPath. We're starting to sign on MagicPath, like some of the big player of like the startup and big startup ecosystem in San Francisco. And what's crazy is that when they import something from Figma, because they're playing with the preview of the plugin, the component that in Figma is just a static image, it becomes interactive, right? Because the way we build it was like, okay, everything needs to be like a full sort of like, React component that has states, and it would be easier for you to combine it together, right?
Real quick message, and then we can jump back into it. I didn't see this coming, but I'm all in on using voice as the primary way that I interact with my computer, especially when prototyping with AI. And it's way faster than typing and perfect for brain dumping context. But I used to have to use a separate tool, except now voice mode is built directly into Lovable. So building your ideas is as simple as having a conversation. It's just another reason why Lovable is my first choice for AI prototyping. So head to dive.club/lovable to try it today. So Granola just launched a new feature called Recipes, and I already can't imagine life without it. It's a simple way to run advanced prompts across all of the context of your Granola notes. And they have some pretty great defaults out of the box too. You can even use the prompt that I made for InFlight called Gather Product Feedback, which looks at all of your user interviews or customer calls and pulls out product-related feedback with clear and actionable themes, including direct quotes, which is one of my favorite parts. I use it all the time, and it's just another reason why I'm completely obsessed with Granola. If you haven't tried it yet, they're offering 3 months free for you and anyone on your team if you head to dive.club/granola. Okay, now on to the episode.
So now, see, it built this feed, which is kind of crazy, right? So the idea is like very quickly now you can actually use your component and do some crazy stuff, right? So for instance, one of my designers was working with Klarna. He make those components out of screenshots, right? So he built all those components, like the hero, the things, and everything's interactive. I mean, it's just like gorgeous, right? And you have the same experience of a Figma file, right? But basically with the interactivity that we add. And then here, what he said was like, hey, make a home page. And so he connects all the stuff together, right?
Okay, hold on. Yeah. What screenshots? Tell me what screenshots. What was the input to get something? Okay. Because that quality is really high. So like that doesn't look like AI slap. What were you feeding it?
This is what crazy too, right? So one thing I forgot to mention is like we worked really hard to kind of like remake all the system and make sure like the image quality, like all the stuff, it's like captured really well. One thing that my designer is doing here too is actually asking to use a specific font via CDN. So it's like also use that font. Literally what we did, because like, we don't have access to their code base, right? So when we were like sort of demo to them, we needed to like do it like very quickly. And so look, I can literally just like copy this, right? And of course, like what we did, we download the images and then, we use the image from the editor.
Yep.
But then when I go back here, and I'm going to use this one. So I can literally just like bring this thing here from my images. And I say like, make this. And then of course, like, it also had the link for the actual font. And then it was basically able to use the correct font, which that makes sense. But we completely remake the infrastructure for generating from images. So now you can actually basically just like, if you have your website and you want to start building these like React component libraries very quickly, this is what people are doing right now. They're just like going and like take screenshots and like they recreate it. Like, for instance, let me show you this other example. One of my employees sent me this today, but he recreated just via images, the iPhone Air page. So check this out. So look at that. I mean, that's just insane. Like this is made with MagicPath, right? So it's like, it has like all the thingy, right? Like, and all you have to do is just describe the behavior basically. And you can just do it. Right? Say I have this thing here and I have the filter, right? Now I can say like, make a homepage using this is called sidebar filter, single button, or panel testing, and there you go. Before, let's say you were like you're a designer, you want to prototype a new feature. Like here we did like a chat, we did like an iOS chat. Like they don't have an iOS chat at Klarna right now. And we're like, oh, let's just use this component, let's just make like a chat, right? And then it looks like it's coming from this design system because of course we're using so you see here, this is the one that we just made. Like it's making it, right? Of course, the image are not right because we need to go and like use the right link, but it is making that component because we spent a lot of time making sure like now the image extraction actually works really well. But then the added value of that, it's like once you have it, now that's a full React component with states that you can just use, right?
I love the animate in once it finally renders. That's cool.
Okay, so this is what's cool here. So this is where you get like these like mind-blowing moments, right? So I say made an home page using this and this, right? So this is when it gets crazy. I didn't mention a navigation bar, right? He made the navigation bar. He knows what fonts we're using. So he just popped that one out. The AI actually surprised. Like, oh, wow, actually, I forgot to mention navigation bar, but it just take care of it. And I think like, that's what I want people to start seeing like soon. It's just like, once you have your component library and your AI actually knows all your component libraries and it knows all your style, you can truly do whatever you want, right? Yeah. And you can vibe code with your component that looks like the one that you want, behaves like the one that you want, but finally actually making a prototype of things that matches your brand.
One of the funniest trends that I've noticed while interviewing people over the last couple of years is year one of the show, there was such a knocking on design systems. The cool kids were not using design systems. It was this stodgy enterprise thing. And now all of a sudden, everybody has realized, oh my gosh, design systems are more important than ever. Like the quality of your components is what you will get with AI. And there's this doubling down. design leader after design leader after design leader comes on the show and says, yeah, we're investing so much into our design system and creating these really nice component libraries. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense because you can do stuff like this.
If you actually code the component correctly, then there's so much context in that component. Like, for instance, here, I don't have to say like, oh, the filter needs to go on the left and this is going to go on the right, because there's so much context in the code that I just like understand it. I think like a really good example too, it's like we're right before this call, I was doing the Origin UI library, right? Which is just beautiful. Like, it's just like these very clean components, right? And so like right now here, if I say, for example, here I have a navigation bar, right? So if I say, build homepage using responsive navbar header and some one of the tables, right? Let's say I want to use there's a table, reusable data table. There you go. If you notice, then you don't have to say like this goes on top or the table goes on the bottom, right? Because like, and it doesn't even matter for the component name. This could be called like, banana in pajama, or like it could be called anything. But there's so much good context in that being a React component that it just makes it, right? And I think like that is the power. Or for example, another great example that I have, I'm gonna like come back to this file as we go show you something else. So one of the libraries that we push early on was the Shutter's-EN library. So everybody that is on MagicPath, they get two libraries. They get the Shutter's-EN, actually three, sorry. The Shutter's-EN, the marketing library, and the iOS library, right? Now, one thing that blew my mind while I was working on this is this, and I think you will appreciate this. So let's say I go into the drop-down menu, right? This is a great example. Okay. In the past, if I'm in Figma, I will have to design the drop-down on over, on close, on open, on states open. All that information now is in that component, right? And to me, that is the ultimate designer dream. It's like you can finally have so much control because that little piece of information, that is the experience, right? And the way it behaves when you over, the way that it behaves when you close, the fade in, the fade out. None of those stuff are informed in the traditional design tool, right? Like, for example, even if you're working on Figma, you're doing a prototype, you kind of have to prototype that. And that animation is not really saved anywhere.
I would do a one-off for sure. Like, unless it was like the core part of the product that I was trying to get buy-in on, I would just one-off, make that one time just so I could have something to represent to a developer, and then it wouldn't exist anytime else that I use that button.
Yeah, exactly. And the other added value of that, it's like now you only have to do that once.
Yeah.
Right. And the communication between you and the developer, it's like so much faster. And actually, my favorite thing too is that we build it in a way so that MagicPath understands what's the visual and what's the data. That makes sense, right? So like here, for instance, let's say I start a new component. So I'll copy this file. Let's say I want to start a new component here. I want to say, maybe I need like a onboarding form for my company. It's like when you sign in and like, some information, right? It's like, okay, I need onboarding screen for my company. And I'm not going to give any detail here, but let's say for my startup, we do AI dogs photo, use label text input field for it. What's crazy about this is like, I work at Brex. Like, I cannot tell you how many times I have to deal with a phone component. Like it's everywhere. Like the input, it's everywhere. And now it's gonna use intelligently. It's gonna change the data, basically really acting like a designer would, right? And like that's like what blew my mind, because like that's what designer did today. Like if you work on a big company, you drag in your component from Figma, you try to understand what it is. Maybe you have to break the auto layout because the way that you do auto layout is not the way that other people do auto layout. But here, all the information is just like in that component, right? It's like, oh, okay, I type here, there's focus, maybe there's a label, maybe there's not, right? I could also add the text area. There's like text area, all this stuff. But yeah, it's super, super cool. And so you can imagine once this becomes truly automatic, right? Where now I'm like adding the component as I go, but that we don't even need to do that, right?
I've been designing products every day for the last 15 years, but in the last 6 months, everything has changed. With AI in the mix, I'm cranking out ideas faster than ever, but none of that matters if I can't get the feedback that I need to get the team aligned. And right now, getting async feedback still kind of sucks. So I'm building the product I've always wanted, and it's called InFlight. I use it every day to share ideas and get feedback from the team. And it's totally changing the way that I work, so I'm excited to show you. Right now, I'm only giving access to Dive Club listeners, so head to dive.club/InFlight to claim your spot. While this loads, I have a workflow question, because you've inserted yourself in a very interesting place in the stack, right? And I could see you moving in many different directions where it's like, okay, what is the extent of the connection with the code base itself? Like, can you pull down components? You talked about Figma integration potentially coming soon, where it's like, okay, you can pull things in from Figma. I could grab a screenshot of production just for a quick prototype. So how do you think about where MagicPath fits in to the workflows and the broader system within a team of like professional designers, PMs, engineers? Yes. Like I'm talking about like a product team where people are collaborating together, and there is some value in understanding where the source of truth even exists.
Yes, no, that's a great question. So for us, I think what makes us more powerful compared to, traditional design tool, also a lot of Gen AI application, is that ultimately what you will have in design is code that you can use, right?
Yeah.
And so you can imagine once I can actually import GitHub into this, because like every company has their own set of React component that they build, right? And so once I have my React component that I build, they're interactive on Canvas, and I have my designer working directly to those components that are part of the code base, you basically solve three different functions there, right? You've solved the end off, you're solving the engineer need to understand the design, you solve the fact that the design needs to always be updated to what actually is in production, right? There's like so many things that you go and remove, right? And so for us, like the way that I see MagicPath fitting is basically, if you, and this is what I'm telling to my client too, because now as this becomes more popular, people go like, hey, look, I want to be MagicPath first. Like, are you guys going to be around, like, in a year? Because it's like, because people are like, I'm investing in MagicPath now, right? It's like, that's the interesting thing too. And what I've been saying, people are like, look, what I can guarantee you is that if you are MagicPath first, either when you start a new project or you start a new company, you are set to have a much more streamlined experience across all the different verticals in your company, right? Because all those different positions, PMs, designer, and engineer kind of collapse, right? I think what AI is doing right now is just collapsing the position, right? And so ideally, if you design first in MagicPath, and then you actually now have this component, and then you build, because we only focus on the front end experience. Like we don't do anything else, right? We don't do the back end. We make it so that it's very easy for you to just drag and drop this component. And if you see here, everything is truly exportable. So if you see here, it's just exporting this where it's very easy to connect your data. Like and this was a very specific design decision from myself, where it's like things need to be reusable, right? Yeah. So if you start with MagicPath, you're basically sure to have completely eliminated the end off and all those problems that we discussed before. If, of course, you're a big company where it's like, okay, you already build this React component, maybe you have a set of Figma file that's your source of truth, we're going to make it very easy for you to bring into here. So then once you hear, what our hope is you set up for success, right? And so if you can see here, use my forms, right? I mean, that's just crazy, right? I don't have to redesign the form because it just used the correct one, right? So if I do Pietro, like, I can just like do whatever I want. I can just like put the email here. Let's see what email I want to say. I'm just gonna like see if it. Oh yeah, it needs to be Gmail. What do you There's a little bug here. It's like reloading the. But those are the kind of stuff that you go.
But it's
like,
check, I mean, if you type gmail.com, is it going to activate that button?
I think it will. Let me just check really quick. It's like a little. You've never done this. Of course, the beauty of demoing.
No. It's cool. See? Yeah. So that's cool.
He's checked.
That's cool. It had the built-in regex ready to go.
Yeah, he has everything built in, right? And of course now you can go and as you remember, like, we have the best editing. So I can like if I want to like drag this around, or if I want to like change the I don't know, if I want to say like sign in instead of welcome, or like or I don't like this to be blue, I want this to be some other color. Like you can do all those changes, right? Like via manual editing. And then actually, what's cool? So let's say that I like this component, right? And this is also the power of library. In this case, I was already working in a library, but for the sake of the argument, let's pretend we were not working in a library. I was like, okay, you know what? Actually, I really like this onboarding. I want to use it all the time. we make that very easy for you. So you do add to library. You can either add to existing library, or you can say create new library. And in this case, I'm going to call it demo. So I'm going to do that. And then when you go back into your file, you see I have a demo thing here. And so basically, every time I start a new file here and I go to demo, here's my component. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah.
Right. And also, you can also turn an entire file into a library. So let's say, for example, here I have like a few sign-in card. I was like, oh, cool. This is cool. I wish it was a library. Well, you don't have to wish. You just turn it into a library. Right?
I have another question, which is when you're editing, maybe we could even like click on an item. There's like there's this spectrum that I'm just interested in kind of where we fall. And there's two types of future users or product creators even that I imagine in the future. And like those two ICPs, one is the professional designers who have the taste and the craft. This is why they get paid the big bucks. They're good, you know, they're good at making pixel level decisions. Then there's the, you know, the okay designer or the PM or the CEO with a bit of taste that wants to get hands-on. And given a good library and enough context, everyone in that world is kind of a 7 out of 10 designer, you know, like they could move the needle really far with a tool like this if they're equipped with the right stuff. So now given those two ICPs, there's kind of this spectrum where maybe that 7 out of 10 designer is more interested in doing things just with text boxes. Maybe the like 10 out of 10 designer is wants a little bit more direct manipulation. How do you think about like where future designers even fall on that spectrum? Like when you run these simulations in your head, you think about your own workflows even, like how much are we dealing with text versus how much are we kind of doing things almost old school, you know, where you're like really getting in, like hitting all these controls and typing numbers? That's a question I've been asking myself recently. I'm like, what's the like granular practice of design going to look like for someone like me 2 years from now, given how fast these tools are accelerating?
There's basically sort of like two answers on that, right? So one answer is you bet on the models, right? And for instance, you know, like if you remember when we first shot the first time, I think it was week 2 of MagicPath. You can see the quality is already like insane.
I've noticed a lot of new things. You've been hard at work, right? I can tell.
But even in terms of what the model generates, right? Because like when we started, it was like 3.7 Sonnet, and then we went to 4 and 4.1, and now there's GPT-5, right? And you can use all those model orchestration together to basically, you know, achieve way better designs now, right? The models are getting better, right? So there is one sort of like answer to your question, which is if we accept this truth, if the models are actually going to be incredible, meaning like their visual expertise and their ability to create beautiful experience and beautiful looking things, then, you know, that bit of text, that bit of maybe like little like nudging with the image is enough. Right. And of course, the sort of like philosophical question there, it's like, okay, well, you're kind of removing what's fun for me to design, which is kind of like, you know, putting stuff in a canvas and like put it together. Right. And so I think because of that, one of the things that we're actually going to do, it's also allowing you some more sort of like manual control. Right. I call this the nano banana of design. What I mean by that, it's like, you know, if you look at nano banana, you go from one image to another. Right. And you can change the style very quickly. This is going to happen with design too, where it's like, maybe I can just sketch something, right, on this UI that it's like, maybe like almost like a rudimental prototype, right? It's like just like literally just boxes and circles and whatever, right? And then I say, okay, turn it into this using this design system, using this component library that I created. I kind of like go and went into the nitty details of making this component really the way I want it to look. And I think that to me is probably going to be what's going to happen. Yeah. It's like the designers that want to go into the details, they're still going to do that. They're still going to go and like really precise in creating this set of information that AI can understand. And then I think there's going to be some sort of more creative people where their brushes is just more approximated. Right?
The question I guess I've been asking myself is, what is a 10 out of 10 designer doing to differentiate themselves from the 7 out of 10 designers that almost everybody becomes when the models are this good? And I do think there's some level of direct manipulation, drawing outside the lines, almost getting outside of the libraries and doing things that the AI wouldn't understand to do. I think that space is getting smaller because we're getting really, really good out of the box. The other place that maybe I go to is like, okay, well, you're on the fast track to scaling iterative exploration to a degree that we've never seen before. And so maybe it is more about taste and selection in that world. I don't know. I'm excited to see where it plays out, but you can definitely see where this is going. Like it's clear after just seeing this demo.
Exactly. And actually now I have something mind blowing for you. Are you ready for this?
Let's do it.
We are about to launch. This is only a few people are testing this.
Okay.
We're about to launch what we call MagicPath's. Okay. You ready for this?
Okay. Yeah.
So the MagicPath integration. So I come here. Let's say I want the sidebar.
I like this.
I'm going to copy into MagicPath. And then I'm just going to go here. And I'm going to paste into MagicPath. Oh, I just noticed that the window was closed. So I'll paste it here. I'm going to do a few more. Okay. Let's do this post right here. Okay. Right? Imagine if now you can actually import your design from production while also keeping them reusable components.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Dang.
We're the only one that has this. Like it's to make this work. Of course, you see there's some finessing with the streaming. I apologize for the audience. It's very hard to do streaming on React component. You'll see in a second. This should be streaming pretty consistently, but we're going through so many updates all the time that it's hard to keep track. Once this is public, it's gonna be perfect.
Hey, props to you for just getting in here and doing the live demo while you're still building anyway. I mean, this is cool.
I mean, look at Zach. Worked. You know, okay, look at this.
Oh, that was fun. That animation. Wow.
Look at that. Now
wow,
my sidebar.
Look at that.
I have my sidebar. Do I want to build a prototype with my sidebar? Let's do it. Right? It's like, oh, make whatever. Right? And it's just like, I can use this now. I can use the X Twitter. I mean, this is going to change. Like, we're literally going to change how the web is made. I want to look at this video of us talking today, like 5-10 years ago, and thinking about the day that we show this and be like, holy shit, this is when everything changed. Because now you can just design from the web. Every time I would join a new company, there will be what I would call the rogue designer, right? The rogue designer was the person that was called to just fix stuff. I sometimes was the rogue designers, right? And unfortunately, many times your design never really matches what's in production, right? Sometimes the production will be far ahead of the design and vice versa, right? When you build in something, especially with engineer, you will need to reference to the last implemented thing, right? Which end up to be the one that was online and our customer were using. So a lot of designers, myself included, what I actually used to do, they screenshotted the page and then build on top of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I've done it too.
With the component. You don't have to do this anymore. It's just crazy. And on top of that, this is a reusable component. It's exporting the props. So I can just, if I want to use now this post to talk about cats and dogs, I can just do that. You know what I mean? That's AI design power, right?
The theme of tooling that I've been so interested in recently is like, what is it going to look like and what is it going to take for me to be able to seamlessly prototype with my production components? And yeah, I could like hop into Cursor, but man, like half the time I do, there's something holds me back, some dependency, there's just like too many little hurdles, you know? Like I just want to be able to work off of that thing, you know, I can see it on my browser and it looks like you might have done it. It's pretty cool. Not to get you to spill your whole product roadmap, but like, where's this headed? You know, you're obviously assembling some pretty powerful building blocks. What is this going to unlock for the role of a designer? What it looks like to actually, you know, bring this set of skills to the table? Like when you fast forward a little bit, what are some of the North Stars that you're aiming at right now?
My crusade is to make design accessible to everybody. That's what I really want, right? And when I mean accessible, I don't mean that, you know, like anybody that doesn't even care about design should design. But it's like, if you're somebody that want to design, if you feel like you have good ideas, and if you feel like you are a good product person, you should be able to design without being scared of interfaces, right? Yeah. Because it takes a while to learn about interfaces, right? But at the same time, you shouldn't be stopped about something that now we shouldn't be stopping, right? It's almost like the analogy that I have, it's like, and this is why I don't want to be anti-Figma, but this is why like online, I'm very like on my spot about what I think we stand, because it's like, to me, it's like saying today we invented the car and we asking people to still riding horses. I just think it's unfair. I want the world to progress, and progress takes time, and progress takes, these bets, and it takes, you really being crazy with your vision and bringing this vision to fruition for as many people as possible, right? So I really want to empower the next generation of designers. You know what the main designers of MagicPath? Like kids out of college, which makes sense, right? It's like they're not scared. Also, look at this. Like I say, make a feed using the post component and the sidebar. And look at that. Like you really remade Twitter. And it's like, is that responsive too? Yes. Oh my God. I mean, it's just crazy.
Shoot, man.
Right. I think design should be as accessible to everybody, because everyone should be able to build the things that they want. Because ultimately designing is a human ability. Like it's like something that it's been with us since we were putting painting on a cave, right? But then we forgot it because we made those tools so complicated. But now finally with AI, we can just we can level the field, and we make sure everybody gets a seat at the table, basically, right?
When the field is leveled, my hope is that there's still a role that says designer, who knows what the adjectives are. In that world, what are then the behaviors or traits that you think separate who the best of the best are when we're able to spin something up like this so quickly, and our value proposition is less tied to the act of hand assembling these UIs?
When I think about the greatest designer I ever met, the ability to do beautiful UI was just a subset of what I think makes a great designer. Like to me, a great designer ultimately is like, not to be cliche, but it's like a problem solver, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes you meet this incredible visual designer, and then you kind of go through, the poking the product a little bit, and you're like, wait, what is happening in this case? Oh yeah, this is the happy path, but what happened when it's an error? Like what happened here? So there's a lot of people that are great visually, but they're not strategical thinkers, right? And so I think the breed that we're going to see emerging, which honestly, that's always been the case, is going to be the strategical thinking. Like if you look at like the highest level of design at corporation right now, like for example, when I was like at Facebook, the higher level designer weren't necessarily the best visual or the best interface design. They were actually people that really understand strategy in the right way, and they were able to impact the product in an order of magnitude that, other people weren't able to. Because yes, like a product and brand is important. And I think it's like, and that's why, we're like constantly working, updating the app, make it pretty and make it better. But that only gets it to a certain point, right? Yeah. The true success is like the strategic thinking. Those people are going to be even more powerful, right? Because they can just like go and, as you say, spin those things very quickly. But I think there's still going to be that subset of lover of the details, passionate about building things more analog. They're going to use a tool like MagicPath that hopefully like in a year or two, we're going to offer a way better way of editing. Like for instance, like right now we don't have the layer view, but we're going to add that so you can see like, all the layers, really trying to give as much control as possible. But I think this is going to be the branches. It's going to be the strategical thinker designers, and then you're going to have like the detail oriented people, basically.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I didn't really know what to expect. Like I knew you read the libraries, the whole, what do you call it? It's magic screenshot? What's that called?
MagicPath's.
MagicPath's. MagicPath's is dope. That's going to be a game changer for designers. And
thank you.
I appreciate you sharing it today. It's really cool.